Hello and welcome to the Futro Hidden Movie Gems podcast. I'm your host, Ty Spiker Christensen. What are you doing in here? Get the freak out of my house!
I can't remember that part.
Well, it's Will Turner. I call him Will Turner because he's always going to be Will Turner from that movie In Time, Just in Time. They did not call the movie.
No, yes.
I love In Time.
We need to do a podcast on that movie, man.
Yes,
100%.
I would love to review In Time.
But Justin Timberlake, he screams at the people he's showing the house to because they're taking pictures on the floor where his wife died.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yes.
And he's like, "What are you doing? Get the freak out of my house!" I love that. Anyway,
People
dude, I know, right? Freaks. Can you take a picture with me?
Yeah, she's like posing too. I was so disturbing. I was like,
Oh, so funny, dude. It's like it happened right here. Oh, it's so funny. Creepiest freaking couple. Anyway, we've got Jordan Christensen on the podcast.
You like my wife? What else does he say?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We'll let Cameron or Tyler finish
that whole discussion was beautiful.
How much do you love my wife, and are you willing to die for her or something?
That's right. You're willing to die for it?
We've got Cameron Mickle on the podcast.
Can't feel my legs.
Oh yeah, that's right. That was a dark moment.
I was so glad. I wish he wouldn't have called the ambulance. He would have just let him just soak in his own blood and just be crippled.
Oh my
Whoa,
gosh.
Cameron, I thought it was ambiguous. Does he even call the? I guess he doesn't say anything. He could hang up. This is one of those. We just watched Sinister, where he's calling the ambulance. They're like, "911, what's your emergency?" And he hangs up.
Yeah, he hangs up. That's it.
Mind you, they would call back if you hung up because they follow up on that shiz. Because Jordan, didn't you call the police and hung up on them? Or was that Grant?
That was Grant.
It was Grant.
It was Grant.
That was Grant. Yeah, Grant. Dude, it's too bad he's on the podcast. We can't mock him for this. He called 911 and hung up after one ring, and he's like, "I hung up before they answered," or whatever. It's like, yeah, they could trace that shiz, man.
And I think they showed up. I mean, they've shown up many times at our
They
house.
don't even need to trace it. They know the number. They just looked up the address.
Yeah.
It's so funny, dude. Grant, it was a victimless crime, you know. Anyway. Today we were reviewing. Oh wait!
Introduce our other two people.
We have a guest. Wait, and I didn't even introduce. Yeah, I introduced Cam, didn't I?
Oh, you did.
Cam today,
right? Okay.
Yeah, and we have a very special guest, Tyler Huxford.
You know, you used to like to.
That's right.
Is this one above my pay grade?
Dude, I loved Justin Timberlake in this movie. I hate
Justin Timberlake. That quote makes me cringe so hardcore, and I'm so glad that you brought up In Time, because this movie just reminded me that I love the movie In Time, by the way. I love the concept, just like I love the concept for this movie, but it reminds me that I hate Justin Timberlake's acting, and his delivery on these types of lines is just so cringe. It's
Tyler, have you seen the movie The Social Network?
Yeah.
Okay.
Same thing.
I will say, yeah, Justin Timberlake, love him in that movie. I guess I love to hate him. And I love to hate him in this movie.
In this movie too. That's what I was going to say.
No, I just love to hate Justin Timberlake, period.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like sad kind of, I don't know if pathetic's a nice word, but sad Justin Timberlake. He looked like kind of bigger too. I don't know if it was just how they filmed it. They just looked a little like.
Camera adds a couple pounds. Jordan's saying Justin Timberlake's probably still fit, dude. The guy's like what, in his 50s? I don't know how old that guy is.
Well, I just rewatched that John Cusack movie where he goes the Hitman one. What one's that called? What's that called?
Oh, Gross Point Blank.
Yeah, I just rewatched Gross Point Blank, and the girl's like, she's like, I went back to my high school reunion, and it looked like everybody I'd known had swollen. And I felt like that's how he looked. He just looked like he had swollen a little bit. Well, and you recognize the girl from Clueless too, Ty. I was like, oh snap, they're bringing back.
I was thinking about saying as if as my quote.
Yeah. And Batman.
Yeah, as if.
She's in the Batman with George Clooney.
Yeah. That's right. I forgot about that.
Batman and Robin, that's right.
But I feel like she's just disappeared and then just come back out of nowhere.
That's exactly what happened. She did disappear. Yeah, I recognized her. I knew I had seen her. I actually had to look up where I had seen her. And honestly, the only movie I had seen that she was in was Batman and Robin. But I guess that was so iconic because that that was like the first Batgirl that we had ever really seen. I don't know of another like actual
Besides
movie
in the
where there's a
cartoons,
Batgirl,
yeah.
besides in
Well, yeah,
cartoons.
the Warner Brothers movie was canceled, unfortunately, so we'll never see that Batgirl. Or should I say Black Girl? I guess it was Black Batgirl. Canceled. Dead on arrival, folks. Written as a tax write-off.
Well, I think they did
Well,
one
you know
season
it.
though. I think you're talking about like season 2 or something.
No. Okay. So Warner Brothers had a movie that they scrapped entirely.
Oh,
but
yes.
there was
Okay.
also a season, a TV show also got canceled. They just can't seem to get this Catwoman off the Catwoman.
I'm okay if they don't
Batwoman.
keep making some of these crappy superhero movies. But back to this movie, because
I think I'm done with superheroes entirely. That's why this was such a breath of fresh air. Guys, we got to get into Reptile. This is the movie we're reviewing, which we haven't even begun to talk about. Reptile. This movie, I don't know anything about this movie. I don't have IMDb up. Somebody tell me something about Reptile.
It was made in 2023. It
That's
starred
right.
Benicio del Toro,
Benicio del Toro.
my
yes.
boy.
Justin Timberlake.
And by the way, Benicio del Toro doesn't have a stutter in this movie. I wanted to make that clear. Unlike Star Wars.
Also,
Rian Johnson's movie.
it's got our boy Michael Pitt from Murder by Numbers.
Oh, is he? Oh, that's right. That's right.
Like, he plays another super creepy character.
Yeah, also a very fun film, Tyler, if you want a fun film.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of this movie. It reminds me a little bit of that, along with this and like Reacher season 1.
Oh, interesting. I was gonna say this reminds me a lot of what's the other one Ty doesn't like, but me and Cameron liked with what's the black guy's name?
That narrows it down.
so not
Denzel Washington.
Denzel Washington, thank you. Deja vu. I was about to say
Little
Deja Vu.
Things.
The Little Things. This reminds me of the Little
It is
Things.
kind of similar to the Little Things.
Yeah.
But I know Ty doesn't love that one, but I do.
Well, it's there's just the big things about the movie that I don't like.
Oh,
like
geez, here we
the
go.
star Jared Leto. Anyway, keep going.
So, is it 2 favorite things already?
No, first time watching it.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
First time on the podcast.
Yeah. Hi, Jordan.
I'm
This is called a podcast.
Earth.
We're doing a podcast.
Wait, who's going first? Cameron?
Who's on first?
Jordan's
That's what I want to know. I want to know the guy's name.
Well, how about Tyler goes first, because Tyler was the one who got me hooked on it. I want to hear how you came.
My first thoughts after watching it.
Yeah, well, yeah. What was it like watching the first time?
What was it like watching this movie?
And how did you come across it? Just on Netflix scrolling?
Well, yeah. So this is a Netflix original. I mean, just to kind of wrap up what introducing it, and some of the Netflix originals are great one-time, watches, and that's what I thought this movie was. Like I saw it and I was like, I definitely won't watch it again, but I did have to watch it a little bit because it has been so long since I've seen it that I ended up watching it again. But
well, you've seen it before?
The Reptile? Well, I watched it about the time it came out because it was ranked in the top 10.
That's right.
But that was
months ago already. Yeah,
that was months ago, and it was very entertaining. But what stood out to me was I was watching it with my wife, obviously, and probably was even like a little distracted. I don't know, but like I saw some elements to the film that clearly had meaning and symbolism, and I thought, well, whoever this director is, like, really put some interesting elements here, and I would like to rewatch this and so I can kind of see how this ties all together, because there are some very specific shots and scenes, especially in the very beginning and the end, because I mean, after all, we're all watching this movie, and it's not about a giant snake or like an alligator that's taking people out. I mean, it's
though you do find a snake skin, and I was like, oh, I wonder if that's coming back into play.
But that's what I mean, is that that's a very small piece to it. So the movie is not actually about a cold-blooded creature. So all the while you're watching this movie trying to figure out, why did they call this movie Reptile? And obviously there were some elements where tattoos of a snake on the back, snake skin at the beginning, wax peeling off a hand at the end. And so I remember watching that, I was thinking, oh, that's very cool, because there's a lot of subtle meaning in here, and I would love to tie this all together later. And that's why it stood out to me, is what this it's labeled as a thriller. The reason my hair was standing on end is, at the end of the movie, I was just trying to figure out how does this all come together? That's what made my hair stand up, because whoever made this movie obviously was very thoughtful in the way they composed the story. So those are first impressions, and then when we get to like two favorite parts, or like what I've concluded after watching this a second time, I have very different thoughts. But first impression, I thought very cool, laced with cool symbolism.
So can I go next, because I was the next to watch it?
Jordan's gonna have an aneurysm if we don't let him go. Go ahead.
So I read Tyler's letterbox about this movie, and I was like, okay, I'll definitely put this one on my radar, because I'm like basically just trying to follow both Cameron and Tyler, all their movies. I've been watching everything they've been watching. Yeah. And so I was just going through the different movies, and then I was like, oh, I'll add that one to my list. I watched it, and oh my gosh, guys, I love this movie so much. I've seen it twice already, and it's in my top 100. It's amazing. I love this movie.
I love that you love this movie so much, Jordan. That's
talking to me about recency bias.
I get about.
Heck,
I love the movies that you recommend to me. I'm glad that I finally recommended one to you.
We should admonish Jordan when he has a recency bias.
This was like 3 months ago. I had only like an 8 out of 10. I was like, okay, really good movie. And then I rewatched it again for the second time, and I waited a couple months, and then I watched the second time. I'm like, oh yes, now I know it. This is like, I don't put anything in my top 100 until I watch it another time. Well, okay, that's not true. I've got a couple in there. Not many, not like Cameron. Cameron puts everything new he's watched.
Don't even 127 hours, which was in your top 10, is now not even your top 100, bro.
No, it is. I thought it wasn't, and I just double checked. I'm like, oh, because I thought that today, Cameron. I checked it, and I'm like, oh,
well, actually, it's still in there.
No, I'm serious. I checked it, and I'm like, oh, I thought it wasn't in there. That's funny. I need to go through my top 100 list again. But
my favorite, though, when we were doing our top 10 film list, was this one, like 127 hours. Oh yeah, that's a great movie.
That's in my top 10. Yeah.
That's going in the Hall of Fame. My favorite parts of this podcast.
Seriously love Benicio del Toro. I can't say his name. So much in this movie. I'd say Sicario, his performance might be probably better in that one, but this one's like a close second.
Probably. Oh, you're crazy, bro.
I just love the pacing.
Definitely.
This is totally like true. I was gonna say True Romance, True Detective. It just, the pacing of it is like so slow, which is what I love. And I just love the music and the sound, everything they did in it is so good. And I love the look of it. The guy, I looked up him, and I guess he did music videos before this, and I'm just excited to see what he does next, because and I actually, it's so funny, I didn't actually think of all that stuff Tyler mentioned until just now. I'm like, holy crap, yeah, I forgot the title of this movie was Reptile.
And well, dude, Jordan, that's like, it's just like what you're saying, like very slow paced movie, like a snake getting ready to attack, but then like by the time he reaches the conclusion of like who actually are the bad guys and what he's got to do.
It's a viper strike. Yeah,
exactly. It moves a million miles an hour in about 5 minutes, and very Reptile-like in that sense. So,
and that's my kind of movie. I love slow-paced things, and if it has a good payoff, and if that slow-paced is like good character development, and there's like things actually happening that are interesting, and I just love the main character, and I love it. I can't get over the scene I quoted earlier, and I'm so excited to dive into that when he's threatening the guy that's been fixing their sink. It's amazing.
Yeah, contractor.
Yeah. So
which girl? You like her? Oh, which one?
and then Cameron was the one I was pushing on to watch it next, right? Yeah, Cameron, do you want to share what you thought?
Yeah, it reminded me a lot. It's very like Fincherian. It's very like dark, muddled colors, as well as extremely slow pace, as well as a lot of kind of like it doesn't seem like there's any good people, because even Benicio, you can tell that when they like mention him, you're like, oh, he has a pass, or they're like, oh, just like he's good because like he didn't snitch last time.
Talk in the past,
yeah, and so you're like, oh, and that's what I love, kind of, because I feel like it makes it much more real when it's like everyone's complicated characters and no one's truly good or bad. It's just like who's currently going to make a good decision, because I feel like that's a better representation of real life than like, oh, this is a good guy, this is a bad guy. I'm like, no, this is just like a circumstance,
or even just what their limits are, right? Yeah
you
cross
and
over.
and so I just really like that, and I was just really impressed with it's funny that you guys talk about the pacing being in Reptile. It makes me like it a little bit more, but that was one thing that I struggled with a little bit, was because, like, I mean, I love
Yes.
slow burns, but I felt like my favorite thing about David Fincher is the fact that I think he's the king of suspense. I think he's better than Hitchcock and Tarantino, just because I think his payoffs are so satisfying, and yet like they are all also like unsatisfying, so it like leaves you with like an overall feeling of like eeriness. Whereas this was just
Totally.
kind of like everything happened, and then it was like, oh, I guess it's like all resolved. I'm like, there's still a ton of corrupt people, but I don't know.
In
But
my
I really
opinion,
enjoyed it.
it ended just the way you described earlier. Like I don't feel like much got resolved,
Hmm.
in my opinion. But I'll explain, and I'll explain why.
I,
So
I
I totally agree with what you're saying. I didn't know he made other films. I probably I haven't seen them, but what you said, very characteristic of this movie, if you ask me. So I completely agree with Cam on that.
well, I actually thought for a second it was going to end when he was just staring, and then I thought it was going to end and it was just over. But it luckily showed what happened
Well, that would
to.
have been awful.
I
That would
almost,
have been really
I
bad.
almost thought
I
I'm like,
agree.
That would have been a Denny finish.
Yeah.
No, dude, it would have been the freaking 4 seasons of Ozark all building up to a cut to black gunshot. I was like, oh, fetching gosh. They're not going to do that again, are they? I literally thought they were. I was going to throw my remote at the TV.
um,
But yeah, for me, I'd say the first time I watched this, so I watched it for the first time. I started the first time. I'm an old man, so I fall asleep during movies. Me and my wife go to bed early. So we started the movie 2 nights ago, watched the first half, and then, or no, that's not true, 3 nights ago. And then I didn't get around to watching it 2 nights ago, and then I finally finished it last night. So yeah, it takes me like a week to watch one movie. So, but I was so relieved I watched it, but it was killing me for like 2.5 days because we paused it right at like basically where the contractor, right before his dream and right before uh you see a flashback of Will with his, I call him Will, I don't even know what his name is, Justin Timberlake standing over his wife, like, so we literally was just like, who done it? There's paint at the church that resembles the paint that was found on her. There's the evil boyfriend, because that's where we got to, is the evil ex-boyfriend gets shot. So anyway, it was just a thrill ride waiting to get back to finishing the movie, to finish the suspense. Who done it? Who done it?
It also kind of reminds me of Prisoners, which is like some of the misdirections where it's like,
Yeah.
oh, this guy's a and it's like, oh, he just happens to be a who's unrelated to the case.
Yeah.
Like that's how I felt like with the boyfriend. I'm like, oh, this is just another psychopath who isn't involved in the case and yet is like somehow like tangentially involved in the case.
I love that he was like so involved in it though. He like even has his police cap on. He's like, I
Oh no,
I support you
I'm
guys.
talking about her
Oh.
ex-husband. Well, her not even really
Oh.
ex-husband, her, I mean, late husband, I guess.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he didn't really have almost
No,
anything.
the other dude is a freak.
Well, yeah, he was a freak too, though, cutting hair and stuff, like off girls on the bus.
Yeah, dude.
Dude, his
Yeah.
artwork was creepy. Like, I couldn't stare at it too long. I'm like, oh man, this guy like using real hair from girls and stuff. Man, he
Tortured
was
soul.
great. Yeah, tortured
That
soul.
is true art. Actually, it's modern art. Beautiful.
That was great.
You guys don't have a refined taste like I do. I can say safely that is beautiful art.
Ty's like, I got one in my bedroom. It's just like,
Yeah, I
Ty,
made
you
one
want to
too.
start with your favorite two, Ty?
Yeah, my favorite two things. So I like Benicio del Toro. I think he's a good actor. I like the slow burn, but I also liked his relationship to his wife. I thought I don't actually see too many movies where this is refreshing, and I'll give you a scene comparison where you have Al Pacino in was it Heat, where he's sitting at dinner and he's
That's
like,
a crazy
"You're
comparison.
gonna talk to me about it." He's like, "Oh, we want to talk about it. If some man throws the baby in the microwave," like the craziest thing. Him talking to his wife, but like, yeah, I know you deal with murders, but like, why can't you talk to your spouse about it? Maybe it's too dark. I don't know. Because that sounded pretty dark. The baby in a microwave. That's pretty fetching dark. Anyway, so this one, I kind of like that she was like kind of a detective in her own
Yeah.
right. She was literally like helping him solve the puzzle. I just kind of like that they talk about it as a couple. I rather enjoyed that. I don't remember the last time I saw that in a movie. So that was refreshing. and it felt new to me. So
And what? Oh, and can I just add on to that? Like his
yeah,
character, like they dive into like his past and stuff, and like the idea that he doesn't trust anybody because he didn't grow up with his dad. And then you see him watching his wife through because he's a detective and because he could even trust his own partner, you know, because it mentions like his
yes,
own partner was lying to him. And so he's looking out the window, looking at his wife, and she's laughing, talking to the guy. And they're probably just having a normal conversation, but he like is building up all these ideas in his head. And it's because he's like, I can't trust anybody anymore. You know, I just,
It's true. The main Ty brings up a really great point, and you're adding to it. Like Tom Nichols is the guy's name, right? The detective. Like he's the only virtuous, pure thing going on in the entire film. Like it's a film full of snakes, and you could argue that his wife, because maybe his wife had nothing to do with what appeared to be some flirting, or like an affair. Like you could argue that because
He
she
was
appears to
flirting.
just be a very warm person. Okay, but
Cameron.
the like he or them, it's the only pure thing going on in the entire film. Everybody else turns out to be pretty slimy. Like it's a film full of
Yes.
snakes, and they're the only two that don't turn out to be that way.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. When his work partner, the bald guy, he was like, oh yeah, what do you think of those girls in there? And he wasn't even looking at them, but they just happened to walk past him. And he's like, I'm married. And then he
I
just
could
like,
send one of them up there with a or whatever. Yeah,
yeah, I was just
yeah.
like, oh my gosh. Like,
I
yeah,
was like, that's some friend, man, you got there. Woo.
I know he was the
That's why
worst,
he deserved to be handicapped.
but okay, but I love that because he was trying to get dirt on him because he was like, I got to get him to do something bad so I can hold it over him and blackmail him. And that's why he kept trying to like get him to do bad, shady stuff. And it was like,
I caught the second time I watched it that even the guy who I think with the white hair, who was kind of the boss of the police force, he asks on the way to the crime scene, he asks Tom Nichols, he says, "Can you keep a secret?" And
mm,
he tells him that he's sick, that he has MS. And part of me wonders if he even really had that, or if he was just testing to see if this is
oh,
one more cop I can keep a
but
secret with. If it gets around that I have MS,
but
then
he did have it because later, remember when he was shooting and he couldn't shoot the target because his hands were shaking so bad, and then
that's right.
he helps him out and gets all
Oh,
the
but
shots
see,
for him.
but see, it was a misdirect, Jordan. He has Parkinson's. He doesn't have MS.
Oh,
And then
Ty,
he's
what?
like, if it gets out, and then he's like, see, you leaked it because I actually have
Yeah.
Parkinson's. Joke's
Yeah.
on you.
What's your second favorite thing, Ty? Sorry, I could just dive into
No, yeah.
Benicio's
So
character.
it was Benicio's acting and all, his subtle performance. I liked it. There was a lot of nuance to it, and then the chemistry between the two, I'd say. So that was my two.
What about
But
you, Cameron?
what about you, Cameron? Camwin?
The first thing for me, no bite. The first thing for me is
Sorry,
I-
that just was really funny. As Tyler took a bite of some food, you were like, "No bite." I think you were talking to his dog, Ty.
He was talking to the
That
dog, yeah.
helped.
yeah.
I leaped up. I was like, I'm done, Cam. So,
No eating on the podcast.
I was really impressed at how well, especially in the beginning of this film, the show don't tell. Especially with thrillers, I think that's a super important aspect because a lot of times people just kind of come out and say like, "This guy's creepy," but it's like it's pretty easy to show it. You just show like similar to Zodiac, and you just show a person's house with squirrels in the fridges, and you're like, "Oh wow, what a freak!" like it doesn't take a lot to show how freaky a person is, but I hate when people kind of just like verbalize it and like this is a really creepy dude, like you should be scared of him. So I just really like it when they
Yeah,
show
just
don't
show us his painting with the hair he took from
yeah,
girls.
exactly. Or like or like another perfect example of it is in Prisoners when the guy's like buying like kid clothes and he's like, "You have any kids?" And he's like,
Is it a crime to shop for kid clothes?
Yeah. I was like, for you it is, yes. No, but I thought this movie did a really good job of the show don't tell. As well as I was really impressed with, I think another thing that is almost more jarring and what I like about like some of my favorite thrillers, especially psychological thrillers, I think sometimes it's more horrifying when there isn't violence. So I think like a great example of this in this movie is the scene in the garage Like, I think that's just a perfect example of like that. I think that's the scariest scene in the entire movie. And there was not a single punch thrown, not a single shot fired. And it was just like when he puts down the hood and the guy's there, because then you just know
Tension.
you just know all the implications. You're like, oh shoot, he knows that he knows, and you're like, how do you react? Like, is he going to try to kill you and cover it up? It's like, maybe that's too deep. Like, like my calculating brain is always like, oh, there's so many different things that are going on at this moment. Like, you need to try to figure out and like, what's the best way out of it. So I think this movie does a really good job in multiple times where you kind of see that. Like, even with the guy in the backyard, I was like, oh crap, like, what do you do? Is he going to try to like make a move or something? So I was really impressed by that.
In the backyard, are you talking about when she shot at the pool and it's leaking?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Well,
Because
and
when it was, because when it's just like you just see the water, you're like, oh my gosh, he drowned her in the pool. Oh
or
my god.
something. Yeah,
No.
you just don't know. That's funny. You thought that. I didn't think he drowned her, but yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And I'm like, I know he's gonna help in this case, so like, why is he? And I love that he leaves the little thumb drive for him. And I love he's just too curious. He's like he has to look. Like he just can't like get rid of that thumb drive. He's got to take it and
Yeah.
check.
Well,
And
I also think it's funny that the guy couldn't just like drop off the thumb drive. Like, he's so weird. He's like,
yes,
I'm just gonna come in your house and drop it off. You're like, what the fudge? Like,
yeah, and like sneak around their backside instead of just knock.
He was not. Yeah, well, he did not.
Oh, he did knock and they didn't answer.
Yeah. But she was like, "Am I gonna answer this door? You know,
Alone, yeah, with a
hey, like
creeper.
who the freak? Yeah, who the freak is coming out here?" So yeah, then he went around and he's like, "This is important. I gotta drop this off." And she's got him at gunpoint. Loved that. I was like, "Yeah, girl." That's my life. Train to kill.
Did you already say your two favorite, Tyler?
No. So I think I did say the I'll reiterate what I said earlier, which is upon the first time watching the film, I saw tons of symbolism and like tons of shots that have, you know, deeper meaning, and there's just a lot of things laced in there that I thought this is cool, and it wanted me to go back and watch it. So that was one of the things. Now the second thing is I'm actually going to go to the glasses here because I looked up a quote because I wanted to know what that symbolism meant and figure out exactly how deep this film was. And basically, I encountered a bunch of Reddit threads, you know, bunch of forums and posts where everyone's throwing ideas out there. There's even one guy who claims that based off of what people are wearing throughout the film, you know if they're guilty or not. And I just think that that's like nobody can. I could not. I to this unfortunately, I have to report that I'm coming to this podcast with like no conclusions here as far as like with the majority like of this. Why is the snakeskin thing there? You know, why is the tattoo on the back? And it makes sense now because I found this quote, and this is coming from Screen Rant. This is coming from Screen Rant. So not sure.
I wondered what that tattoo was on her back. It's a snake. Is that what you're saying? Okay,
yeah,
I didn't know
yeah,
that.
it was like
I was
very
like
reptile-like.
Yeah, I was like, what is that? I just thought it was a cool tattoo.
She has a dream the night before.
That's right.
You know, yeah. and there's a part where like, you know, obviously you see the scene of, you know, Justin Timberlake coming up the stairs, and he looks so surprised when he sees her dead on the ground. And then obviously there's kind of like a flashback scene much further on in the film, which is kind of a dream, I think, that you know the detective is happening, that seems to suggest that Justin Timberlake.
I forgot it was a dream.
Like, okay, yeah,
I forgot it was a dream, and so when I watched it a second time, I was like, "Oh shoot! How's he gonna get out of this one?" And then he shoots him in the head, and then he wakes up, and I was like, "Oh, it's a dream."
and again, if it's a dream, it doesn't necessarily mean that was a flashback. But then, like, why did they put the first? But maybe it was because somebody killed her, and the you know the first scene seems to suggest that Justin Timberlake, if that's the way it actually happened, was actually very surprised. And why would he have to act like he didn't know that he killed his wife if there's nobody there? And so it leaves a lot of unanswered questions to Cam's point. And so I find this quote, like, this is what has brought me solace since, because this is the director, and he's saying the movie very much evokes this feeling of not knowing. And it's this fine, delicate balance between making something satisfying for the viewer, but also not showing them something so that they can lean in and question, what is it they're seeing? What are the motivations? Is this person hiding something? What does it mean? Like, the absence of information or the absence of a clue can sometimes be more rewarding for a viewer than actually showing. And that's exactly what happened in this film. Like, if you ask me to this day, like who killed the woman, I don't actually know. We know they were all part of it. Like we know
Yeah.
the motive and the reason, but we don't actually know who did it. The bite mark that they found, they only use that to confirm it wasn't the dude that they thought it was, but they never actually figure out who it was. And then the guy with the greasy hair, who it seems to imply, they took him out, and we know Justin Timberlake was in the room,
Well,
but who is the guy who came through the door and did it? And
yeah, because
a lot of that
I was
just goes
listening.
unanswered.
Now that you say that, Tyler, on the second viewing, and I even started at the third time, I was just trying to find little things. And I was listening to the voice because there's a scene where Justin Timberlake's in this car texting. He's like, "Can we make a quick stop?" And the guy's like, "Oh, sure." And I was like, why would he say that to him? Because I'm like, I thought that was the killer in the car with him, but it clearly wasn't. And I think he was trying to find like a witness to be like, oh, he didn't kill the girl. But
yeah.
And anyways, but the voice, I couldn't figure out whose voice it was because they never showed the person. But
Well,
he
yeah,
did.
and there's also the scene where they go to Flash Drive's house, and he's like, "I'm not going to hurt you if you just turn over the flash drive, or I'm not going to press charges or something." He's like, "You press charges? That's right." And then through the door, somebody else comes in. We never see who it is, but I'm
Oh,
guessing
that's
we don't know who it is.
That's right. I forgot
We
about
never
that one too.
So there's ambiguity.
That's what I meant by greasy hair. Who you're calling pin drive, I call greasy hair. Like we just
Yeah.
there's a lot of questions that like I don't think the
Greaseball.
film ever answers, and so we watch this film and we're still spinning. Like wait, like I have no idea what this meant
Or
why this
another
happened. Who did this?
Yeah, another great thing too, where they had the phone call. You think he's finally calling Will, but he ends up calling. I can't even remember who calls who, but there's like 4 phone calls going on. Everyone's talking to somebody else, not who you think they are. You're like,
when he's calling, and then and then she picks up the phone, but then it was like not him, the detective, because it was like
everyone was calling somebody else. But you thought at that moment that there was this aha moment, but you're like, okay, not yet. And it keeps dragging. I think it was interesting too what you said, like about the garage part, Cameron. I liked that. Like one of the most terrifying lines was just like, "You and your wife have a good thing here. Like just don't pry." Like it wasn't even like like he didn't even menacingly say it. He's just like he almost confidently. He's like, "Don't mess this up. You have a good thing."
Yeah,
like,
he wasn't even threatening. He was just like, don't ruin what you have. That's good.
Yeah, you've got a good thing going here, and you're just like, oh my gosh, it'd be a shame if something were to happen. And he's like hitting a baseball bat against his hand. But no, nothing like that.
When he says you're gonna get the Medal of Merit, I was totally thinking of Departed when he's like, "What is that? Like a gold star around here?"
Yeah. Yep.
I don't want to get a gold star for killing someone. No, it's for saving someone.
Yep. But that was just and then of course I also think, and I'm going to use Cameron's word because I didn't even know that was a word, Cameron. That was very impressive, the tangentially. But like there are a lot of stories and things happening tangentially that I just have no idea why they were even included. Like for example, the whole side plot of his wife potentially having an affair. Like, why was that even included? That dude who she was having an affair with didn't even seem to be important. The snake skin at the beginning, no one seems to understand why that's important. So, and then there are just side characters and whatnot, and you just ultimately, like, because there's so much going on, and you're trying to. I mean, I think we all watch the film and we're trying to say, oh, it was him, it was him, it was him. All of it throws you off. So you're looking for a way for it to connect all together, and then it turns out to be something completely different. And Jordan knows I like to predict films, and I kind of pride myself on, my batting average as far as being able to predict who did it and whatnot. But this was just one of those films like I couldn't do it. And like I said, even after having watched the film 1.5 times now, I still couldn't tell you who did it. Like I don't know.
I was still waiting for Norman Bates. I don't know what else to call her, but the mother, Will's
the mom.
Justin Timberlake's mom, she's all like so creepy, like put this tie on.
Well, yeah, and she was like prepping him to meet with the police, like calm down, like because she didn't want him to like give himself away.
Kind of going off of Tyler's point, I think also the reason that it like initially is unsatisfying because you don't know who it is, like a whodunit. I think it's also because of the situation. Like it's unsatisfying because I don't think you'll ever be able to truly clean out the police department because because of the situation, like you can quote unquote like imprison or get the bad guys, but it's like, it's not satisfying because you don't even know if you got everybody. It's like the only way to
fill the void.
Like you got to make sure, like the only way to make sure that you got everyone is to get rid of everyone. Like you can't keep.
You know what
any-
what I really like about that too, Cameron, you just put this thought in my head. You know how like sometimes there are police case files where we will never know what happened. It drives me wild, but like it's like we have an idea, we have a perpetrator, we locked him away, you know, because we had a court hearing and he went on trial. But like it'll bother me to no end. Be like, what happened that day? Like we can pretend that we know we have
Only the
DNA
people that
evidence.
did it
We can
know, right?
Well, that's
yeah,
the
only
biggest
the
thing. That's
people
why
that did it
anytime a
know.
murder with
Yeah,
multiple people involved, like the number one
yeah,
thing is to make sure no one breaks. Is because like if no one breaks, it's almost impossible to pin everyone and get everyone involved.
right.
It's almost impossible unless you just find like miracle evidence. And oftentimes, even because that's I mean, if 3 billboards outside of Ebbing, Missouri proves anything, it's just like even with like great evidence that comes across, it's like it's still so hard to pin down people.
Hmm. Yeah,
Oh,
for
oh,
sure.
guys, I just
But
wanted to say because you guys basically said all of my two favorite things, but just hearing you guys talk about it just makes me love it even more. Because I seriously thought it was a more simple movie than that. Like I didn't think about the title, I didn't think about all the cool snake stuff, and I didn't think about the idea that there's like not a bad guy. I'm just like, oh, it's Justin Timberlake. He's the bad guy that got him at the end. Like that's just how I took this movie, and I didn't realize. Oh wait, he might not even have done it. He was involved because he was selling the houses where they did the drugs, and then she knew about the evidence. But yeah, we don't know who actually did it, which I just
He was behind it. We just don't know who jams the knife strong enough in the pelvis that it gets stuck
right.
or
And
whatever.
I love an amazing.
Justin Timberlake.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, it's almost a crime of passion, but you know that he was aware of her extramarital affair. Well, they weren't even married, but like her affair with her previous boyfriend. He mentions that he knew that, so that could seem like a crime of passion. But then again, like, uh, there's a lot about her. Like, it's like like I can't remember what they said, but there's an autopsy. It was a horrific end.
Well,
Like,
and I wondered
Dak-
too if Justin Timberlake was lying at the bar with that girl because he's like, I just found out that she was still seeing her ex, and I was like,
maybe it's a lie
oh,
he's telling us. Yeah,
exactly. I'm like, is
Yeah.
that a lie he's just telling
yeah,
her?
because you look
Or
at
is
the ex and you're like, what does she see in that guy? And then you're like, man, she really has a way with picking men, doesn't she? So
yeah,
it does
yeah,
sound like
right, yeah, because of her
yeah,
story.
no, that's interesting that you say that. Now we have two unfaithful,
But
accusatory,
but you just wonder
two
what
husbands that are jealous. Yeah,
well, you wonder what's like stuff
but
that
he
they
could be
just.
lying.
But it's like, why? What motivation would he have to lie to her? I mean, obviously, it's
To
because
take her on a second date a day later.
okay, that's a good
Yeah,
point. All right, but
yeah.
still, like, I just think
it was preferable to telling him, well, I took part in the murder of my wife, who was a completely loving person. Oh, I keep saying
Yeah, I
wife,
don't
it's
think the truth was an
fiance.
option in that scenario, Jordan.
yeah, that's true.
I
Okay,
mean,
good
like,
point.
we all agree. Yeah, that was the other quote I was thinking of with Alicia Silverstone. She's like, we all grieve differently, because she's like, that was fast. He's already with some other chick. Like,
Yeah. Okay. I love little things like that. Like there was
yeah,
a moment when the doctor was like, he's like, she was injured here. She must have attacked her like person that hurt her. And all of a sudden he's like, how did you get that injury, detective? Like right after he just said that. I just love that because he's got an injury on his hand. And then later he gets the same injury in his hand again. He's shot. I don't know. It's just a funny little detail. It was like, could the detective have been
Or
involved?
there's tons. There's
yeah.
tons.
There's so
somebody
many.
pointed somebody pointed out that like when they're cleaning out the house that they're showing rat poison falls out of the cabinets and it's like, okay, there's a rat in here, as far as the movie goes, which again, I think it's a movie full of rats. Like snakes are like that's what you call people who are like betray, and it's full of betrayal. Like I said, I don't think there's a single person in the film that's not having an affair. But he's like our hero is the only guy. Now the only connection that I will make that I agree with, and I think we all put this together, but I think it needs to be said, is the only piece of symbolism I think we all do understand is the detective, it sounds like, has a history of not sins of commission, but omission, where he turned a blind eye to police officers from his previous police experience in whatever state he was in. That corruption was taking place and he turned a blind eye to it, and that's weighing him down.
I don't know if
then he shed
his
his skin and
then he takes care of business. He takes care of business. He finds out that his new group, he's given the opportunity to fix that corruption amongst his existing court. police corps. So he does this time what he wishes he could do last time, and he sheds his skin and he moves on. And that's I think the only part that's obvious. But other than that, it's
He might have though. However, I'm not 100% disagreeing with you, but he might have been just like trying to trust people, because it's like the whole Breaking Bad scenario. It's like you would have never suspect somebody you love to be involved in this thing. So I think, I don't know if he loved his partner, but I'm just saying, if you like work with somebody, you're just like, you don't want to believe that they're in on something like really
Oh,
horrible.
interesting. So you're saying like maybe he was willing to turn a blind eye because he just didn't want to maintain such a level of mistrust, right? Because that's what
Yeah.
I would argue that's his character arc. Because at the end, he's like, who can he trust? His friend at the very end's like, don't come upstairs. Like, get out of here. They're gonna kill you. And
Yeah,
he's just like,
and he's just like, oh my gosh, I can't trust anybody. And like he tried to bring it to the FBI, like somebody
he brings it to
higher.
the FBI head, and
Yeah.
he's like, I don't know who else to bring it to. And then he goes there, and then it's like, this guy's in
This
on it
guy's
too.
in on it too.
I'm gonna go to the bathroom real quick,
And
you
that's
go
probably
upstairs.
why I mean, maybe you guys already knew this, but like, that's probably why he was just sitting there, like staring off into the distance, like, I can't trust anybody. Like, like,
Yeah, well, I also thought, like, how messy of a crime scene is this? It's like, I don't even know how to explain this. Like,
because
he warned me, so then I went and killed and he even says, he's like, what is he, detective? He's like his superior, and he's like, don't do it. And he's reaching for his gun. He's like trying to pull rank on him, and like, who's gonna
I
believe
know, he's
you?
like
And he just
slowly
shoots him in
moving.
the
And
back of
he
the
just
head,
hit him with the "Quieres morir? Compas,
You
compas."
want to Yeah, you want to die?
yeah, dude, right in the bathroom, dude, and loved it. He's just like, oh, dude, and that was crazy too. That choice to smear the camera, I don't know if I like that much. It almost took me out of it, but personally, but I don't
Smear
know.
the camera.
Yeah, when he shoots him in the
Oh,
head,
and the blood hits the
covered
camera.
in
Yeah.
blood. Yeah.
Well, and there's
And
a few
then
times he even looked at the camera, and I was like, I wonder the choice behind that is is it like, so we're supposed to read his eyes or something?
at the
'Cause-
very end, when he's sitting in the chair,
No, there was another
Oh.
moment when he's like talking to the guy, because Fargo's done that a few times in the TV series where they have the person look directly in the camera lens, which I always kind of takes me out of the movie. But I'm
yeah.
like, there's got to be a reason for that. I don't know.
The other thing too with the bites on the hand, for some reason I thought the snake was going to be a bigger part of this, like Tyler
Oh,
mentioned.
yeah.
But like they're like, and then he reenacts the bite with his wife, and he's like, "Dude, is that a teeth mark?" And then they've come back with the teeth, and they're like,
It's
he's like, "It's
inconclusive.
inconclusive." And then
Yeah.
again, just like this whole movie, it's just a whole series of
It's like memories of
we got,
murder.
we don't got
Yeah.
it. We got, let's lead it, don't got it. And then you're like, okay, so it's inconclusive. And he goes, even the chief of police, he tells him, he's like, well, can we just put this to bed now? Like, the guy, the creepy boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, he's dead. We can just pin it on him, and it all wraps up in a nice bow. And it's still eating away at him. You know, can you just turn a blind eye, even though he knows that's not the case? I'm sure cases like this happen all the time, where it's like cops are just like, lieutenants, they have to make that decision. They're like, we'll never know what truly happened, but well, this is
Well,
our guy.
even
We're just
if
gonna,
it's a
and then
lack of
tragically,
corruption,
killer
it's
strikes
just like
again. You know,
for the
Yeah.
social view. That way, you're like, everyone's like, oh wow, this police station actually gets stuff done, because it's like you're
Yeah.
never going to actually solve the case. So it's like, is it better for everyone's peace of mind? So you say, we caught the
the
killer.
noble lie, Cameron. The noble lie.
Oh
Yeah.
my
So like,
gosh.
so they're in, like the killer's in the ground, and you guys can sleep easy. Or is it like, oh no, the person's like, we've killed, or like one of the killers is in the ground, but there's still some out there, and then make everyone like on edge? I don't know. Yeah, that's a hard decision to make.
Gosh. Guys, I just love the movie so much more now. I'm just saying, because I seriously, I was like, at face value, I'm like, oh, this is just a really good movie. But then I'm like, I wonder if there's more to it. And all of it went right over my head. That's so great. But
Even though it went into your top 100 ignorantly, I guess, but now you.
well, just because I loved it at face value, like I said, the simplicity of it, you can still like it for just what it is. It's just like a crime thriller. And I wouldn't even say I love it necessarily for the twist, because twists only work the first time, and then after you rewatch it, I guess you can like figure out what, piece all the little tiny things together to try to.
Gone Girl.
Yeah, I know. Well, yeah, exactly. That's a
And
good.
Shutter Island, dude.
Well, Shutter
I know I
Island
watch
actually
those
sticks.
movies, it gets better every time.
Here's what I'll say: if a movie has a twist, movies like The Sixth Sense, they're still enjoyable on rewatch, because there are plenty of hints where they did an effective job, where it is entertaining to watch it how you missed it when it was so obvious.
But
Yes,
So it
exactly.
recontextualizes your viewing
Exactly.
experience. Which
I guess
for
I'm
me,
just-
I am now going to watch this movie again because I'm actually very interested in our discussion here. Because I'll be honest, I thought it was a little more straightforward, but I am
Yeah,
thinking
me too.
I just made the connections in my head because I think the killer is probably someone than what you guys all think. Like I literally have a story in my head of what happened, but I didn't see it. Like I'm literally putting pieces together,
Yep.
which I'm sure the director gave. Like in my opinion, this was all perpetrated by the
Justin
jealous
Timberlake?
Justin Timberlake.
It is
But
very interesting because
in my mind,
even on my
but you never see
rewatch, I
that.
did exactly what you're talking about, like Ty, and I'm not even all the way through, but like just the
Mhm.
opening scene of like Justin Timberlake coming up the stairs and being surprised at the murder, and the guy with the MS disorder, you know, his reaction as he's taking the phone call and probably doesn't even realize that anybody's watching him as he's listening. You know, it's just like it all seems like very genuine reactions to me. So even
See,
on the
yeah.
rewatch, it's just like, man, this is weird. But again, he's saying, "Can you keep a secret?" And it's like, okay, maybe this is him trying to see if he can bring this guy in on this. And you know, and I agree with that, Ty. It's cool those films
macho
when
Mr.
you go back.
Security guy, Bulldog or whatever, the keychain Bulldog. He even sits down at the coffee break room or whatever, and he's like, he's saying a line to a song, but he's threatening him, right? He literally comes, and he's like,
Yes.
"Hey, you talk a big game, but like, are you really or whatever?" Right? I can't remember what it was, but it was literally like threatening him. But then he's like, "Oh, you don't know the song to the lyric?" Like, he's very much like aggressing, being aggressive
Trying to
toward
see
him.
if he's like gonna overreact.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Cripple him. Cripple him.
Hey,
I would have put 2 in his spine just to be sure. I'd be like, I'll make sure you never walk again.
oh my
Yeah.
god. Do we recommend it?
I'd be just like Mark episode 1.
Oh,
I would never kill you.
Mark and what?
Invincible.
Oh, okay. I was like,
I'd never kill you.
the
Oh, in
spine.
season 2, yeah.
That's what you were practicing on those protesters the other week.
Oh, season 2 when he like snaps the girl's
Yeah,
neck.
yeah.
Sorry, I was
Well,
trying to
guys,
catch up with you.
This is great.
Got there eventually
well,
after an hour and a half.
Do you guys have anything else you want to throw out about Reptile?
No, but I recommend it if you like serial killer. Well, not serial killer, but like detective movies.
Yeah, thriller.
Yeah, slow burn with a wild end, a thrill ride ending. We'll call it that.
Yeah, if you
Somebody
like,
needs to send me over a list of movies that this guy made because I'd love to
No,
check them out.
Cameron keeps talking about David Fincher. This guy has actually only directed this movie, Tyler.
Is that right?
Yeah,
that's right. Because he actually, if you look at the quote I'm talking about, he said that he felt like the kid who hits the frisbee in the window, about how when he made that scene, he somehow related it to his experience of being like a first time filmmaker and feeling like a kid or whatever, and he wanted, you know, a kid to make an impact as far as the ending was concerned, which is interesting. But yeah.
If this is his first movie, I'm very excited to see what he does next. If they give him more opportunities, which I hope.
Chill.
I mean, it was largely watched. I mean, critics gave it like 45, but audiences gave it 75. So
I'll send you a list of some movies similar to this, like The Little Things. Cameron mentioned David Fincher. He does a lot of films like this.
If you like, also like The Corruption is very similar to Reacher season 1. Reacher season 1 is almost like this to a T.
I did like Reacher, and I think
a little bit better, Jordan.
I just got to give it another chance.
Yeah, Reacher's really good. I like that one.
And they're coming out with season 2.
I know, dude. Well, Tyler, we end it. Oh,
well, go to Cameron really quick. He has to actually go in 5 minutes. So, Cameron, what have you seen lately, and what are you looking forward to?
I haven't seen a whole lot. I've been slacking this month, and I've only seen.
Which means you've only gotten around to like 18 movies. Yeah.
No, yeah. Unlike last month where I was killing it, and I had watched, I think, 38 movies. This month I am slacking. I'm hoping to catch up over Thanksgiving break. But
I hope you do too, Cameron. I really hope you do.
I appreciate it.
Okay, just wanted to say thank you for recommending Gran Turismo. Loved it.
Right?
Tyler,
Fun, right?
Tyler, have you seen that? Highly recommend it.
Gran Turismo?
Yeah.
Or Gran Toretto?
Neil Blomkamp.
Is it Turismo?
No, Torino is the one with what's his name?
Oh,
Clint Eastwood. Yeah.
Clint Eastwood.
Eastwood.
So it's not that one?
No.
Gran Turismo is literally just like nerd Ford versus Ferrari.
Ford versus Ferrari, yeah.
It's the video gamer that becomes an actual racer.
All right, sorry, Cameron. Back to you.
No, yeah, I've just so I haven't been able to watch a ton of things. I've been watching a little bit of Avatar: The Last Airbender because Colton hasn't seen it. I've obviously been keeping up with Invincible every week, which is super fun. And I've actually been watching because I'm like mad insomniac, so I like never sleep. So I've just been watching like a ton of comedians late at night, which has been really fun.
You can
And
still rate
then-
their movies on Letterboxd, Cameron.
Yeah, I know.
Who'd you watch last night, Kim?
There's a couple different ones I've been watching. There's well, I watched The Usual Suspects, which was really good. Jordan hated it.
See that? Okay, that one.
He's uncultured swine.
Like I was talking about, that all hinges on just the twist, and so I think it's kind of like, and I already knew the twist, so it just didn't feel like I was.
Cameron, that movie has aged like fine wine when you find out that Kevin Spacey's the villain all along.
Oh my gosh! Spoiler alert!
No, but like based
He's saying
on
because
his
he's
allegations, yeah.
Oh jeez.
and then I also watched Panic Room, which was fun. It's kind of just like I mean, it's very like there's very Fincherian shots, and I'm like, okay, I can see this, but like, I
Dude,
mean,
Jared Leto being his true
I
self.
love
dude.
Jared Leto's probably my
Cornrows,
favorite
the
character. He
grill.
kind of killed it.
Yes, loved
Um,
it.
He's great.
But I mean, definitely lower down on my Fincherian list because he makes pretty much masterpieces besides Benjamin Button.
Wait till we watch Alien 3, Cameron.
Brother. But I've been watching the comedians I've been watching is Sam Morril, Mark Normand, and Chris DiStefano.
I watched the Mark Norman one as well. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, and
Are you-
then I'm like really excited for The Fall Guy, the new Ryan Gosling movie. It looks fun. It literally looks like The Nice Guys,
Oh, yeah.
which I love.
Yeah, directed
And-
by was it one of the John Wick?
Yeah, John
Stuntman
Wick and
guy?
Atomic Blonde. Yeah.
Atomic Blonde.
And so I mean,
enough.
it like my only gripe with The Nice Guys is that the entire plot hinges around like the industry. So this looks like that, except without the industry. It's just the film industry. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited.
Yeah. Stuntman, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm really excited for that. And I mean, it's got Emily Blunt too, so it's got a really solid class, along with Ryan Gosling. But then besides that, just looking forward to more. Oh, and I also watched The Killer, which we'll review.
Yeah.
Which
I'm
Yeah, we
so
should review
excited.
it.
It's so good.
I like
Ty, have you
Killer,
watched it? Oh, you watched
really
it?
enjoyed.
Mhm.
David Fincher, he's so good.
I mean, just before I know we'll talk a lot about it next week, but I mean, my least favorite part of it was that I didn't get more. I'm like, give me a series of this Disney Plus, not your garbage. I'm like, if there's anything to make into a mini series, it's this, not your stupid little freaking the Marvels. But
well, but I mean, it is Netflix. It's not technically.
yeah, I know. But
Fincher would never work with Disney.
not in
a million
they would
years.
never want to work with him. Are you kidding me?
Well, they
Like-
just did. They just dropped their first rated R movie or whatever.
Really?
Yeah,
Which one?
I don't know. I don't care.
Okay.
I just.
But you care enough to know.
No, I just heard that it was like an announcement. It was like, oh, their first Disney. It was on IMDb. It's like Disney's first rated R movie. Oh my gosh! I was like, I don't care.
It's a
scrolled-
war documentary.
I just.
I don't know.
I just scrolled right past it. No, it was not. It was all female characters in the front. So, no.
No, but I mean, my goal is to. There's 24 movies I have left on this
I-
poster right here.
24?
Top 100. No, the top 250. I still got like 120. So
Oh.
I'm trying to finish the top 100 by the end
Oh.
of the year. So I only got 24. So I'm gonna try to finish those 24 before the end of the year. So I'm gonna get the crank on that.
Nerd. Is Clockwork Orange on the top 100?
Yeah, it's gonna be the
It
last.
is.
It's gonna be the last one.
Yes. Okay, wait. Are you gonna see Taika
Don't watch
Waititi's
it.
new movie?
Cameron. Walk out of it.
Come-
I might want to see it because it comes out Friday, right?
It's.
I might go see it on Tuesday.
Okay.
Last Goal Wins, I think it's called.
Yeah, and I mean another Michael Fassbender.
I know. I
No
know. He
complaints
just came out
here.
The Killer. Dang.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Peace,
I love
Cameron.
you guys.
All right, Tyler, hit us
Yes,
up
sir.
with what you've seen lately.
I saw the movie Downsizing, which I thought was, it's a cute little film. I don't know if that's a Netflix original.
Is that
No.
a pun intended or not?
Like, yeah, that's true. That's a
Cute
that's
little
I didn't
film,
I,
huh?
I'm not I wasn't I'm not that clever, but no, it's that
That's
one
even
surprised
funnier.
me.
Just
That one
really
surprised
small.
me. That one surprised me because it went a different direction than I thought. Like it went from
Very
being
different.
really quirky and kind of comedic
Dark
to
comedy, yeah.
ultimately delivering a very sentimental message at the end. And so I was surprised by that, but it you know, it was a cool film because, you know, it even went the direction of like, you know, environmentalism, and it just save the world type thing. And you know, it's they pulled in left and right politics, which is super anyway. So I thought that was very clever. You know, Matt Damon's always a joy to watch act, so I enjoyed that one. And I'm watching Invincible. Obviously, that's kind of my wait for the next episode thing.
Which
And
came out today,
it's
Tyler.
I realize that, and I haven't watched it yet, so I'm like excited to get up and watch that tomorrow.
It's
As
not.
far as what
Oh.
go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say it's not as good as the first 2 episodes, but I haven't finished it yet. I watched the first half, and I'm like, it's good.
Yeah,
Not as good as the first
yeah.
2. First 2 were so
No,
good.
it's I think Invincible's pretty good. I obviously that guy creates some pretty good stories, and
Robert Kirkman.
but then
Oh my gosh.
I'm not sure what I'm excited about as far as like what's coming out show and movies wise. I just I haven't seen. I mean, I'm waiting for Dune 2. My wife and I are waiting for Dune 2 to come out.
You're
But
gonna be
when's
waiting
that
a
coming out,
while.
Jordan?
March.
Oh, I thought we saw a poster for November.
It was supposed to be November, but then they pushed it off.
Well, that's a bummer. That's probably the next movie I'm waiting to see.
Mm-hmm. Denny, dude, such a great director. Oh my gosh.
But I will say this though. I also and I wish I would have watched the full thing because I don't think it's available anymore. I found the old Dune on one of the networks, whether it was I think it was free on Prime or something like that.
Yeah.
And I wish I would have kept watching, because I can tell you that in the first 2 minutes of watching Dune, they make it so much more clear what's going on to set the stage for somebody who has not read, you know, the books or whatever it's based off of.
Oh,
In
interesting.
the first 2 minutes, because it tells you like what spice is and why it's so valuable, that it prolongs life, it gives you these innate abilities, it's like, oh, that's why this is such like why the, you know, the spice is so important to the economy. And so it's like I probably want to watch that, because I think that it will help me appreciate the Doom story a little more.
Yeah, they dumb it down. Yeah, Denny is very much a show don't tell.
Because reading the book is out of the question for sure. You know, we don't read books on this channel. Yeah,
Yeah,
get that.
Tyler actually
right.
reads a lot of books.
Yeah,
yeah. I would totally read it. But
I have a wife and a life.
I'm trying to read. I'm trying to finish the classics before I get into like some science fiction.
It supposedly is
hole.
like the greatest science fiction book of all time. So I don't know.
Really? Well,
Yeah.
then okay.
it's just science, really. That says that it's the most.
I don't believe
beloved
in God. I believe in science.
I believe in science. Well, that's good. Yeah, Dune too. I'm excited to see that too.
Guys, thanks for having me on. We'll see you.
Tyler, we love you.
Peace and blessings.
Love you, man.
And
Ty, what have you seen lately, and what are you looking forward to?
so I watched The Killer, which I enjoyed. I'm
so
watching
good.
Invincible season 2. We're kind of watching the same stuff right now.
Yep.
And other than that, nothing much.
No more Love Is Blind. You already finished all that.
Digital heroin, dude. Yes, that was injected into my eyeballs. Remember that scene in SpongeBob? There's a scene in SpongeBob that lives rent free in my brain where Mr. Krabs gives away all this stuff to charity because the Flying Dutchman was going to collect his soul, and then he realizes he's lost all of his money, so then he tries to recoup some of his losses, and he has like this is amazing. This movie isn't even in theaters yet, or whatever, and then he runs around and he literally like puts a like mind flails him where he like removes his knowledge of having watched the movie out of his brain. So funny. I know I didn't explain that very well. I'll have to send it to you. But anyway, he just mind flails him. So he like removes the memory because he's thinking he can recoup the loss. So he like, you watch this movie. How do you take this back? He literally like sucks the knowledge of having seen the movie out of his brain. That's literally what I feel like. I don't even remember most of the stuff I watch anymore. I'm like sitting down. I'm like, I watched this. Like most of it, I've just been watching Red Letter Media recently because they just did 2 really fun game shows where they did Friday the 13th trivia and Nightmare on Elm Street trivia, which made me laugh because I've only seen the first Friday the 13th and then a first Nightmare on Elm. I've never seen any of the sequels to date. I've seen scenes from Jason X. Is probably the next
I
movie I
love
know
Jason
the most
X.
about, but only because of how over the top and ridiculous
Yeah.
it is. But other than that, I don't know a single other Freddy movie. I don't know. I know there's a Freddy versus Jason crossover. You know, they fight each other. Again, just no knowledge of any of that. But it was just fun during Halloween to watch some of these videos that Red Lemon Media put out. But other than that, yeah, just can't remember anything else that I've been watching. So, how about you, man? You looking forward to seeing anything or things that you've seen lately?
Yes, I'm gonna go see Takeaway's TT's movie this weekend because I love
Yeah.
all his movies. I mean, minus the last one he did with Disney. Didn't really care for Love and Thunder very much.
Love and Thunder, yeah.
There, I mean, in a few moments that made me laugh, and then
Love and
obviously,
Blunder, yeah,
Christian Bale's performance, spot on.
yeah.
So it's just funny because like I'm looking through my reviews. I got like I'm just gonna not mention all the ones I thought were dumb, but then it was like 1 star, and then I'll watch like an old movie like Ad Astra. It's amazing. It's a masterpiece. We watched
What a
it.
snooze fest!
I know.
An actual quote from somebody that was in the theater with you watching
Well,
that
and I
movie.
was reading through reviews on Letterboxd, and it's so funny to hear people like complain because literally the reasons they don't like it, I'm like, I love it for those reasons. Like,
Oh, you didn't like that about it. I love that
I
about it. Yeah.
love that because they're like the pacing's so boring and slow, and it's just like, okay, well, I
I
love
don't
it.
understand. There's an exciting fall out of the sky. There's a moon battle.
Yes,
There's a space baboon. There's
Ty,
a lot.
I
Like I
know.
don't get
I was
what is
like,
wrong
I'm
with
like, I
people,
want to
dude.
rewatch this opening scene. Cameron's like, it's so boring, and then I started the scene. Cameron was glued to the screen during it, and then after the scene was over, he's like, I don't want to watch this anymore. It's so boring. It's just so funny because it's like those scenes
Dude,
are so gripping. But
visually stunning, dude.
oh
Oh my
yeah,
gosh, that drives me crazy.
it's such a good movie. And then I rewatched Blade Runner and then Blade Runner 2049, all masterpieces. And then I rewatched The Wailing. Dude, such a good horror movie. Holy crap.
Oh, the Korean one.
Yes,
The Wailing. Yeah, I
dude.
thought you said the whale. Like for some reason, I thought you meant like a movie about like spear hunting whales or something.
Well, I mean, I
the,
did watch The Whale a couple weeks ago. That was great.
the,
And then I rewatched What's Up, Doc.
that's a crossover I'd like to see.
Dude, What's Up, Doc? It's classic. And it's just
Mm.
it's amazing. And then so there's one director I've been enjoying his movies. They're not like super great, except one of them I enjoyed called Cold in July. So it's got the actor from Dexter, and it's just a fun like 80s kind of throwback. It's not made in the 80s, but it's more modern-esque, but it looks like an 80s film. And anyways, he's like it's just a very simple premise, like bad guy he kills his son, so it's like, oh shoot, kind of revenge, but then it takes kind of a twist and turn, and there's some fun stuff. And it's got Kurt Russell's kid in it. It's also got Don Johnson and, like I said, Dexter. And so I really enjoyed that because the same director made a TV show where the first season I've seen twice already. Hap and Leonard, love the first season, and I want to rewatch it again. But he also directed Cold in July, so I'm like, I need to watch more of this director's work. So I watched another movie he made called We Are What We Are. It's about a bunch of cannibals. I kind of wish they focused on the detective side of the story because the family is I just didn't really care for their story. I couldn't connect to a bunch of cannibals, but um and then
I tried, I was trying to,
I really did.
sat down with dinner with them, just couldn't get behind it.
But
Yeah.
I love he tells a lot of small town stories. And then he also did a movie called Stakeland, or Stake Land. And it's it's basically The Walking Dead, but instead of zombies, they're vampires. And is as well. But anyways, and then Macomb Blair, I love him so much. So he did I Don't Feel at Home in This World Anymore. And I've just been like looking at everything he's ever done. And so I just like even movies he's acted in, because he's an Oppenheimer. Maybe you forgot that. But
Oh,
he was
interesting.
he's one of the guys in the room. I guess that doesn't really help. Everybody's just in a room talking.
You're like, he's one of the guys in the room. I was like, oh, okay.
That's all of them. But yeah, I just love that him and Ben Safdie, like two upcoming directors and actors, that I'm just like so happy that they got to work with Nolan. I guess that's just kind of like on your checklist. You're like, I have to work with Nolan, got to work with
Yeah.
Quentin, and then got to work with Martin Scorsese, and like I can
For
die
sure.
happy. But anyways, I just
Love it.
love movies, guys. That's all. And this
Love it,
movie
love
was a
it.
masterpiece. Reptile. Thank you for giving us this movie.
Yeah. Hey, it's great watching, guys. This is Future Hidden Movie Gems. Leave us an email, futuremovies@gmail.com. Leave us a like, comment, tell us a movie that you'd like us to review in the future. This has been Future Hidden Movie Gems signing out.
Bye.
You like that girl? Is she worth dying over?